In the great coaster state of Pennsylvania, there is a legendary place where the entire town smells like chocolate. And while always being sure to honor and respect their great history, has slowly but surely become a world-class coaster park. Hey everybody, this is Greenbean with Full-Time Coaster Tour, the only family on the internet that sold it all to ride them all, traveling around the country in our RV to ride all 770-something roller coasters in this great country. Our tour took us to Pennsylvania, to none other than the great Hershey Park, and we haven't been there in some years, and I gotta tell you, this was one that I was really excited to get back to. I have such fond memories of this particular park, and who doesn't like the combination of roller coasters and chocolate? I mean, if anybody figured it out, it has to be Hershey Park. This is about as slam dunk as you can get in the attraction and amusement field. So what better place to start with than Chocolate World, the place where you can find half-pound peanut butter cups and 5-pound bars of chocolate. It's an amazing experience just to walk through that massive store, but that's also where you'll find the free chocolate tour among numerous other attractions. But learning how the chocolate is made is a pretty cool experience, and again, it is free. And at the end of learning, how the chocolate's made, what goes into it, how they package it and all that, when you get to the end of this cool tour, they're going to give you a little tiny gift, which looks like a little tiny free bar of chocolate. And since my wife doesn't eat chocolate, I got two, and that works for me. So when you get to the front, the first thing you're going to notice is that there are crowds if you get there upon opening moment, and it's laced with all these great sayings from the founder, Milton Hershey himself, but it starts with this bell. Opening. That's how you know they're about to open the gates, and everybody gets excited, and it's a very cool experience to get there for that opening bell. But the first thing that you walk through now, as of 2020, is the brand new Chocolate Town. The main attraction of Chocolate Town being Candymonium. And continuing with the candy theme, Hershey does a really good job of incorporating candy into everything they do. These are the height requirements and their associated candy brand. As you can see here, my littlest one was a Twizzlers, which will pretty much get you on everything. But as you walk through Chocolate Town, they have this brand new fountain shaped like a Hershey's Kiss, and it does different things throughout the day. But the coaster Candymonium, the brand new B&M Hyper, wraps around this area, and there's a lot of coaster interaction, which is one of my favorite things. When you're walking around and the coaster seems to be weaving in and out of the crowd and all that, I love it, and I think they did a really good job. Your welcome to Hershey Park now includes this whole new area and this massive coaster that is just, it looks great, it sounds great, and look, in Hershey style, they wove this little river through the area, and you'll notice that throughout the park. Hershey does a really good job of using their landscape, not overtaking it, but incorporating their landscape into everything they do, and there's more ride interaction right there. This was a fantastic welcoming to the park, and it gets you excited for the rest of the day, quite frankly, and we just loved it. And this will bring us to the next area in the park, really the most classic area of the entire park. This is Founder's Way, and this is where a lot of my memories are really captured. This part of the park, they've done a really good job of keeping it the way that it was during my last visit, which was 1983, 1982, something like that. I was about 10 years old when I went down there. You can see here, this particular ride, I was able to catch my son on this ride, and look, it looks exactly the same. It's in the same spot. That rubber orange and yellow cover is still right there. It's exactly the same. Hershey did such a fantastic job with maintaining the historic aspect of their park. Sure, they've continually added all sorts of cutting-edge rides and experiences, but they've also kept the charm of this place. Again, I remember this area of the park. It made an impact on me back then. You can see this aerial shot. That's from a similar time. And look, it's exactly the same when we walked in. The tilt-a-whirl's still there. The scrambler's still there. You can see the Comet in the background. And it's amazing to walk in and get that very similar experience as I did as a kid and watch my kids have those feelings. It's incredible to see, and I love that Hershey Park, while continuing to grow, did a really good job and really respected how they got here. They know what worked, and this type of an area, among some others in the back of the park, they kept the way that they were. And I thought that was such a beautiful wrinkle when we went to Hershey Park this time around. No better area really exemplifies that marriage between history and progress like the Hollow. Now, the Hollow was there when I visited back in the 80s, and the two main attractions are still there today, one being the Comet, a classic 1946 Woody that's still just as fun as the day it was built. Now, it doesn't look as big as it used to back when it was built with some of the additions that were built in this park, but the Comet is a classic coaster that everybody seems to love. The kids love it, the family loves it, and if you're a thrill seeker, it's good enough to give you a thrill as well. But this will bring us to one of the new additions to the Hollow, Skyrush. In 2012, Hershey Park decided they would add their first 200-foot hyper coaster, and this thing is no joke, especially sitting right next to the Comet. They've actually done a really good job of interweaving these two coasters together, and they couldn't be more opposite. Again, 200 feet. The cable lift brings you up to the top alarmingly fast, and the ride itself is probably the most intense in the entire park. Skyrush, built by Intamin, is one of those coasters that the thrill seekers come to Hershey Park to ride. That's right, the other main attraction that has been sitting here in the Hollow since 1977 is none other than the Schwarzkopf-built Super Duper Looper, which at the time of its creation was one of the most thrilling coasters anywhere on the East Coast. This was one of the earlier looping coasters. Now, by today's standards, it's kind of tame. And it's really a good coaster for some of the young people to be somewhat of an introduction to thrill coasters. But I'm going to tell you right now, this coaster has held up so well over time. It's incredibly smooth. It's still a fun ride. And like I said, anyone can ride this thing. For me, getting back there and seeing this coaster still being there and holding such a prominent place in the landscape of this beautiful area was such a great thing to see. This is exactly the type of coaster that there's pressure to move on from, to upgrade from. But again, Hershey Park already upgraded this area with Skyrush and the next coaster that we'll see, that keeping a coaster like Super Duper Looper along with the Comet really adds to what they're doing at Hershey Park, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much. So the next coaster is technically in an area called Kissing Tower Hill, but the coaster itself winds through the Hollow that it feels as though that's where the coaster is. So if you're looking to actually ride it, you're going to have to go over to Kissing Tower Hill, but if you want to see this coaster, you're going to have to hang out in the Hollow. And this is such an interesting B&M invert. It was built in 1998. It's called Great Bear, but it's so wacky because the first drop doesn't really drop you. It does this 150-foot turn, somewhat like a helix, before it even goes into the drop, which is a unique experience. So you do that little element, see it up there? There it is. You do that turn right there, and then now we go into the drop. So that element is actually way into the air, as opposed to being closer to the ground, which is that added thrill, which makes this coaster one of the more unique B&M inverts. You'll see these at most prominent parks, but again, Great Bear has a lot of unique aspects to it, that being one of the most, and it's such a great coaster for the Hershey Park lineup. So right next to the Zoo America entrance of Hershey Park, on the other side of Kissing Tower Hill, is one of their newer rides, built in 2017, their triple launch tower, built by SNS Sansei. This offers 3 different thrill levels. It's a combination tower, so it's one of those that shoot you up in the air and does the drop tower thing. So after it does this shot and you bounce around a little bit, then it brings you to the top and drops you. Now I'm going to let you watch a whole ride of this thing. Now I'll be honest with you, this is not my gig. I don't do this, but you can see the 4 right there in front. They were with us, and we'll also get their opinions of the ride when we're done here. That was awesome. You liked it?
Yes.
What did you guys think?
That was good.
That was a good one?
I died.
You died up there?
They left me in there.
I saw that. Was it good though?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Oh, I feel rain. I feel rain. We gotta hurry up. Now, I should have heeded that little warning that I made about the rain, and you'll see why in a little while, but we walked across what I believe is called Founders Bridge back to Founders Way so we could head into the Pioneer Frontier and get on the other coasters that are waiting for us at Hershey Park. First of which was this small one, this Coco Cruiser, and that is what it is. It's a small kiddie coaster. Most of the kids liked it. And it is a coaster credit if you're into that sort of thing, which I am, so I did get that credit. But you can see this area has a lot of other rides. This is a very large bumper car track, which the kids had a lot of fun on. Now, when we head into the Pioneer Frontier, the first coaster that you come across is Fahrenheit. Now, Fahrenheit is a 2008 Intamin coaster, about 121 feet tall, and this thing is exciting. It's scary looking, that vertical lift hill that they have, but it's an absolute blast. Now, there were a few coasters that were closed, unfortunately, the first of which was the Sidewinder. This is a Vekoma Boomerang here. The Wild Mouse was also closed the day that we went, and most sadly, the coaster named Storm Runner, which is one of the coasters I was really looking forward to, one of the most powerful launches in the world, was also closed that day. And that's just stuff that happens. It wasn't due to any specific issues or anything like that. It's not anything seasonal or systemic. It's just they were down for that day. But the next coaster, and the main coaster of this area back in my 1980s visit, is Trailblazer. This is one of those Arrow mine trains that you see at so many of these parks that have been around a while. Trailblazer was one of 3 coasters that were at the park when I visited as a child, and you can see here not many people are back in this part of the park, especially to ride Trailblazer. I think it probably will get more crowded, obviously, on busier days. It's overcast and raining, so we got lucky with the crowds. But it's a classic ride. It's one of the mine trains that you've probably ridden if you've been to any theme park. Especially in the Northeast, these coasters are kind of everywhere, but this area of the park is stunning. The river, the coasters, the trees, the classic train that you see driving through here. Hershey did a fantastic job when they initially built this section of the park, and they've maintained its charm throughout the years. And this will bring us to our final area of Hershey Park, the Midway America section. And there's a lot going on back here. There's about 4 coasters back here, lots of carnival type rides or some of those smaller amusement park rides. The first of which was the coaster Laugh Track Amara Ride spinning coaster. It's indoors and it's a lot of fun, especially to get you out of the rain. And then there's Wildcat. Now this is right around the time when my family got tired of all my filming, and you'll see a little bit of that right here.
I want to film this. Wait for me. Meryl, wait. You all stink.
Yep, they left me. So I had to ride Wildcat by myself. Now this coaster is interesting because for so many years it was known as one of the more rough coasters, especially at Hershey Park. This is the first coaster ever built by Great Coasters International, and it initially didn't stand the test of time too well. They did retrack some of it, and then they added these brand new Timberliner trains, and that seemed to make a whole bunch of difference. I noticed it was a pretty rough ride, but it wasn't anything so bad that I would complain about it. And you'll see the new Timberliner trains right here. Look how sharp and nifty those are. But GCI, Great Coasters International, did get a second chance at Hershey Park. They built what ended up being my favorite coaster of the day, the Lightning Racer, which is two wooden coasters that race each other. Thunder on the left there, and Lightning. You get to pick your track when you get there, and it's really a competitive atmosphere. They do a great job of making you feel competitive in there, like we're gonna win, and and everybody kind of yells at each other and cheers and boos each other. It's a real fun time. Now, I asked the staff, because it was looking a little interesting to me, that I noticed that Thunder seemed to win every time. So I asked them, I said, does Lightning ever win? And the staff member I talked to said, sometimes. So if you want to be on the winning team, chances are you're going to need to go to Thunder, but that is what it is. Now here comes the rain, and this is something I think is important to tell you. We learned that Candymonium, which we pushed off until the end, shuts down at the first sign of rain. So we did not get on the main coaster of Hershey Park, which just about killed me. I regret not getting on it when it was running earlier. But all in all, I want to tell you, Hershey Park is one of the finest theme parks that you'll find in the country. Coasters, rides, history, chocolate. How can you go wrong? You're going to love Hershey Park if you do decide to stop by. And don't forget to like and subscribe to follow our national coaster tour. Hit that sub button and stick with us on our coaster tour.